What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to CM Aviation. Hope you're on a fantastic day today. And today we're celebrating Delta Airlines' centennial, their 100th anniversary here in 2025. So I hope all of you are excited for today's video. What we're going to do is just celebrate Delta as a whole. I have some of my favorite models and 100-year related items out here, so we'll take a look at those. And in addition to that, we will also talk about Delta Airlines' history, kind of some of their fleet and network and so forth. And we'll also talk about what to expect here. So I hope all of you are excited. Like I said, it's going to be great to check out Delta today and what they're all about. So as we go through the video, I'll kind of pan over, show you all some of the different models that are on display here today, and obviously give you all just a rundown. So obviously we won't be, complete Delta Airlines experts by the time this is done, but we'll have a pretty good understanding. So again, I hope all of you are excited for this today. I picked out some of my favorite 1-400s. I have all my 100-year 1-400s, and I also have all my 1-200s as well. So this is going to be great. I actually forgot one of the old livery Delta widgets, but that's okay. So just imagine that 1-200 MD-90s here. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. So what I'm going to do is just pan into an individual aircraft and kind of talk about a segment, and then I'll pan over and, different ways of hosting it like that. So, ooh, sorry about that. I didn't realize the tripod had so much going there. But anyway, here is our first aircraft, the Aviation 400 Delta A350-900 LA-28. Very good looking aircraft, and this will kind of start. I know it's not even close to indicative of what we have, but at the end of the video, I'll actually pan over and show you my Delta DC-3. So let's get started. So if you don't know, Delta Airlines is one of the biggest airlines in the United States and in the world, quite frankly. So they're based out of Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, of course. And that's the busiest airport in the world. So Delta is one of the largest airlines in the world. So Delta currently, as we speak right now, actually has, under the Delta name, has over 5,400 daily flights and over 325 destinations across 52 countries and 6 continents. So Delta is also the founding airline of the SkyTeam Alliance, which is great. And they were the second oldest operating carrier in the U.S. behind United Airlines. So Delta also has off and on, but for the most part, ranked #1 in revenue and brand value along the world's largest airline, by second by number of passengers carried, passenger miles flown, and fleet size. And they're listed number 70 currently, I believe, on the Fortune 500 list. And they've also topped the Wall Street Journal's annual rankings of airlines for 2022, 2023, and 2024, including first place for the Airlines Reader's Choice that year. So very impressive to see that. So looking very nice. I'll go ahead and pan over to our next aircraft for the next portion. Is Delta Boeing 767 by Panda Models. It's a nice one. So actually, Delta Airlines was founded on March 2nd of 1925 in Macon, Georgia, which is actually where Spirit Airlines was going to fly to before they unfortunately did not start that service. So Contour currently flies there. Now even Delta flies to their home city, essentially. But anyways, they ended up moving to Monroe, Louisiana, which is pretty interesting, in the summer of 1925. And their original name, and they actually did aerial crop dusting, was Harald Defland Dusters Incorporated, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, it was a very different operation from what we know today. So they actually had C.E. Woolman was the GM and later Delta's first CEO. They were all local investments group, and then they eventually made Delta Air Services later on in 1928 on December 3rd, and that was named after the Mississippi Delta region, kind of Delta's core there, like Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta, and Jackson, Mississippi, areas like that. So they actually began passenger operations out of Dallas on June 17th of 1925. From Dallas, with the first flight to Jackson, Mississippi, with stops in Shreveport and Monroe, Louisiana. And by 1930, they actually were going all the way over to Atlanta. What a surprise. So yeah, obviously during this time, airlines were big on, flying mail and, different items like that to continue to maximize, every aircraft's opportunities. So that was really cool. Next, we'll go over here to the Gemini Delta A321neo 100 years. I have a review on this. I have a review of this aircraft on my channel, so definitely check it out. So let's go ahead and see here. Once again, passenger service in 1930, and then they ended up, purchasing back some crop dusting assets actually, and an integrated Delta Air Corporation and Delta Air Services came together on December 31, 1930. They got the airmail contract in 1934, and then they moved their headquarters to Atlanta in 1941, became Delta Airlines in 1945. 1946, it got regularly scheduled freight service. 1949, they were launching flights and discounted flights at that from Chicago to Miami direct. 1953, they launched the first international routes after acquiring Chicago and Southern Airlines. And in 1959, they were the first airline to fly the Double's DC-8s. By 1960, the first airline to fly the Convair 880 jet. And by 1964, they were using the Delta Matrix reservation system computers on the IBM 770 series. In 1965, they were the first airline to fly the McDonnell Double's DC-9. So if you can't tell, they have quite a bit of history in regards to being the first. They continued to grow all throughout. In 1970, they had an all-jet fleet already by that point. In 1972, they acquired Northeast Airlines, the yellow-branded airline. Transatlantic service started in 1978 with nonstop service from Atlanta to London. And in 1981, they launched their frequent flyer program. In 1987, they acquired Western Airlines and started flying Trans-Pacific service, as Western was based out of the West Coast in Salt Lake City. But in this particular case, they actually started service from Atlanta to Portland and then on to Tokyo. By 1990, the airline acquired the McDonnell's MD-11 jet, the first airline to do so once again. In 1991, it acquired substantially all of Pan Am's transatlantic routes and Pan Am Shuttle and rebranded them as Delta Shuttle. Here's the NG 100 years that might be the best plane on the table. In 1997, the airline boarded more than 100 million passengers in the calendar year, and they began expansion of some of its international routes in Latin America. By 2003, the airline launched Song, which was a low-cost carrier that competed with TED. If you don't know, Delta Airlines actually did file bankruptcy. In 2005, on September 14th, the airline did file, citing rising fuel cost. It emerged from bankruptcy in April 2007, which was a big moment after fending off a hostile takeover from U.S. Airways, which would have been very interesting to see that happen. That would have been really a game changer for the entire airline landscape. Who knows what American would have done if that would have happened. But anyway, they were relisted on New York Stock Exchange, and Delta got out of those challenging times, and they launched the livery that you're seeing, the normal livery, which I'll show you real quick after I show you this 100 years. They launched their onward and upward livery. I would think of the same day they got out of bankruptcy or somewhere around there in 2007, which is now what they are known for as onward and upward. But anyway, in 2008, the airline announced that they were going to be acquiring their biggest airline to date, Northwest Airlines, on April 14th, and it was approved and compensated by October the 29th. Northwest continued to operate as a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta until 2009 on December 31st, when all of the operating certificate was merged into Delta Airlines, and then they completed all of this by January 31st of 2010 on the computer system. So that's really the big history, is what it gives there on the Wikipedia. I know it's not the best source for, writing papers or whatever, but in regards to what we're doing here today, it was pretty accurate. Here's my A220 now. Let's talk about some of the other details that I mentioned. So Delta and its worldwide airline partners have more than 15,000 daily flights per day. This includes airlines in Europe like, ITA and Air France and KLM, some of their biggest ones, all the way over to Saudi Airlines that they started recently. And then you even look at a carrier like Korean Air and whatnot. So they have 893 daily flights currently. In the summer of 2024 is what they had out of the Atlanta hub. And as of December 31st, 2021, a little older here. But anyway, Delta has mainline flights to 242 destinations, serving 52 countries across 6 continents, as we mentioned. They have a very long list of destinations. We will not read those today, but their main hub airports that they operate to here in the United States include, of course, Atlanta, Boston, Detroit, which was an integration from Northwest, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, St. Paul, once again another acquisition from Northwest, New York John F. Kennedy and New York LaGuardia Airport, Salt Lake City, which was acquired from Western Airlines, and the Seattle Tacoma Airport. So quite a large Delta connection fleet, as well as they fly the many airports across the United States, the smaller airports, of course. That's an MD-90 that's halfway broke. MD-88, excuse me. Their 3 regional partners include Endeavor Air, Republic Airways, and SkyWest Airlines. Alliance and codeshare airlines include Aerolíneas Argentinas, Aeromexico as of now, Air Europa, Air France, Air Baltic, China Airlines, China Eastern Airlines, El Al, Garuda Indonesia, Hawaiian Airlines, ITA, Kenya Airways, KLM, Korean Air, LATAM Airlines, Rex Airlines, Saudia, Scandinavian Airlines, Seabourn Airlines, Shanghai Airlines, Transavia, Vietnam Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, and WestJet, which is actually news to me. And here is the MD-88 I have that's in good condition. as of September of 2025, so very recent information, Delta Airlines' mainline fleet consists of nearly 1,000 aircraft. It's 992 as of right now. And prior to its merger with Northwest in 2008, Delta operated the most aircraft built in the United States, which is pretty cool, but obviously took on all those Airbus aircraft from Northwest. Delta, very unique to Delta, they have favored older aircraft and maintaining them to their fullest potential. Great examples include the Airbus A320 family that they acquired from Northwest. You can also look at examples like the Boeing 757s and even some of their wide bodies like the Airbus A330s and the Boeing 767s are even kind of old. So it's been really impressive to see Delta really amp this up, and they've even integrated aircraft types over time that have really, took their operations above and beyond in terms of operating costs and whatnot. A prime example that's still flying right now is the Delta Airlines Boeing 717. They acquired all those from AirTran previously, and they're still operating dozens of them to this day, nearly still 100 of them. Some of the big aircraft maintenance operations, they have in-house MRO and Delta Tech Ops. They're key for managing the complex diversity fleet that Delta has, which is pretty diverse. It's impressive to see how much they can do. But even on top of that, they have some revenues servicing aircraft for other airlines, which is really cool and a great way to make money too. So Delta operates the world's largest passenger subfleet somehow of multiple aircraft types. The Airbus A220, the Boeing 717, Boeing 757, Boeing 767, and Airbus A330. And they do have the wide-body aircraft types, including the Airbus A330, A350, and Boeing 767 that are deployed on longer routes to Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, and South America. The average aircraft age as of December 2024 is 15 years old. They have quite a long variety of products and whatnot, but we would be here till midnight if we discussed all the differences and so forth. But definitely let me know if you all like me to do that sometime, or even make videos just in general for any airline, and we can do that. That's a Delta A320. Thank you, Aviation LAS, for that. I appreciate that very much. But anyway, some of their product names, just to keep it simple, you got Delta One, First Class, Premium Select, Delta Comfort Plus, and Main Cabin are some of the main ones. Once again, rewards program that they launched in 1984, whichever year it was, is Sky Miles, obviously, and this gets, has many bonuses, like obviously Delta Sky Club, you got the Sky Bonus, and so forth, so it's pretty cool to think about. Delta Airlines in 2024 produced $61 billion of revenue, and this ended up being a net income of $3.5 billion, which is very impressive. They have not lost money since 2009. They've profited every year at least by $600,000. Or $600 billion. Or sorry, $600 million. That's the number I want. I'm sorry, everybody. The only until 2020, which they did lose $12 billion that year, but that was to be expected. They were already back to profitability by 2021, which is very impressive. In terms of assets, they have $75 billion worth of assets, which is crazy. And then their price per share dollar is $60 in 2024. I think right now it's like maybe 65 or 70, but they've hovered around for quite a while. They have over 100,000 employees that are FTE, and their average load factor last year was 85% and has not dropped, excluding the pandemic of 2020, has not dropped below 80% since 2006. Once again, fleet size, very impressive. They did phase out some aircraft, so they had 900 in 2019 all the way down to 750 by 2020, but most recently got back up and will likely cross 1,000 next year. So yeah, once again, over 100,000 people between the mainline and subsidiary brands, and you got Delta Global Staffing. Once again, their headquarters in Atlanta near Delta Flight Museum. It's pretty cool to check out. The widget's been their big identity, which is awesome to see. It's a great, way to recognize all that. And Delta's had many awards and recognition. It's a long list, and it's been very impressive to see. So that's really a big rundown on the article there. I do also want to talk about how many aircraft they have in each aircraft they have in their fleet. Now I'll show you some of the other items. This is a really great note that I got when I bought actually an unrelated model. I believe it was an Alliance Fokker 100 that I bought, and I ended up getting that, so that was cool. So, very cool to see that. But anyway, once again, as of September, there was 992 aircraft there, third largest commercial airline in the world as of that time. So let's see here, 317 regional aircraft as well, and they have 294 aircraft, new ones that are fuel efficient. So some of the aircraft that they've retired over time includes the Boeing 737-700, 747-100 freighter, 747-400, Boeing 777LR, DC-9, MD-88, and 90s, including many subtypes there. And like I said, innovative deals with the 88 used Delta 717s. And they also have had large orders as of late for Airbus A220 aircraft, and they even have been pretty unique in acquiring aircraft like the former Lion Air Boeing 737s and LATAM Airbus A350s. So as of September 2025, here is the mainline fleet with the amount of aircraft and then orders. The A220-100, they have 45 in service. The Airbus A220-300, they have 34 in service with still an additional 66 on order, which is impressive and likely will have contributions when replacing the Boeing 717 and the other Airbus aircraft that are ordered that we'll mention on this list. Here is a Biscoff 100 years cookie with a napkin. I thought that was really cool too. The Airbus A319, they have 57 of those. All these are former Northwest aircraft, along with the 48 Airbus A320s that they have. They have 127 Airbus A321s with sharklets, and then they have two different types of A321 Neo cabins, but totals, they have 84 currently in service, and they have around the lines of 71 still on order. So you're going to be seeing a bunch of those, of course. Former Northwest A330-200s, they have 11 of those. And then their Airbus A330-300s, they have 31 of those. The Airbus A330-900 Neo, they've already finished deliveries, 39 of those active in service. And then for the Airbus A350, again, multiple products, but you have 19, 17, and 2. So it'd be 19 plus 19. So you have 38 of those and just 6 now on order, which are former LATAM aircraft, I believe. The Airbus A350-1000, I believe they are actually going to get that, and they have 20 of those on order, which will be great. And then they have 80 Boeing 717s, so just 8 of the original ones are now gone. And it's a long-term lease with Southwest that they worked out to make that happen. Again, very impressive. 77 Boeing 737-800s, and then for the Boeing 737-900 to ER, 130 plus 12 plus 21, so somewhere like 165, and they have about 33 of those are the former Lion Airs. They have 100 Boeing 737 MAX 10s on order, which we will see what happens with that. And then the Boeing 757-200, many different cabins, but they have about 75 of those, and the older aircraft will be retired with newer ones getting retrofits, and they also have 11 of them designated for charters for MBA and a couple other purposes. The Boeing 757-300, they have 16 of those. They were former Northwest, and they'll go get new interiors. On the Boeing 767-300, they have 38 of those airframes. Largest operator, 763. And lastly, for this video, the Boeing 767-400, they have 21 of those. The largest operator, not quite. I think United does take that title, but 21 764s. And that totals up for 992 active Delta Airlines aircraft with 263 aircraft on order. Delta's impressive. They're a great carrier. I love flying them, and I love giving them some business and revenue. They're definitely the highest charging carrier out there for sure, but you get what you pay for every time. I've flown a variety of their aircraft, all the way down from the CRJ-200 when they were flying those, but now let's just say the CRJ-900, all the way up to the Airbus A350 that you're seeing. And I can say from top to bottom, they really have a great line of products, and they've really done a great job to manage their money and maximize their opportunities in the aviation landscape. So Delta's definitely got it made. Let me know what you think about Delta in the comments below. Definitely check out my 100 years review on the GeminiJets and then the NG models and then the comparison. So yeah, it's been great celebrating Delta this year. I want to do a big video kind of, celebrating the next year. We'll obviously have American, I believe. It said United was before Delta, so I thought they haven't had their centennial yet. But nevertheless, no matter what happens, we will have American next year at this time or so. So stay tuned for American and anybody else. So let me know what you all think about these videos. I definitely want to celebrate and give proper videos where they're due, and Delta obviously has had instrumental impact on the entire aviation landscape, so how can I not give Delta Airlines a proper video and obviously celebrate? So Delta's next 100 years are going to be super bright. Very eager to see what happens with Delta, and again, let me know what you all think in the comments below. Always curious and interested to the thoughts that you all have. So with that being said, that'll do for today's video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Just process. Do you love and love you do. My name's CM Aviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon as CM Aviation is signing off.